Hey YouTube! So after last video, I asked you guys about what kind of topic you wanted to hear about next, and a popular answer was a video on roaming. So I get asked a lot about this topic, and to be honest, it's mostly situational, but I hope to cover most of the most common situations. In general, with every map movement you make in League, you want to think about what will give you a net positive. Let's start with some basic conditions for roaming. Number 1, if your ADC will be fine. Usually when you roam, you don't want it to be at a large expense for the AD. ADCs are very fragile and are typically more resource reliant than the other roles. It is typically safer to leave the AD alone on a pulling wave because the wave will eventually end up at your tower where it will be safer to catch. Most commonly, this will happen after you crash a wave and reset. Ideally, you don't want to be leaving the AD alone on big stacked waves either. The risk of losing the big stack wave is usually a lot greater than the reward of roaming. Think about champion specific interactions as well. Ziggs will be able to wave clear 1v2 most of the time from a safe range, and Yuumi is bad at diving, stuff like this, and factor that into when you decide to roam. Next up, it's good to roam if it is a win condition for your matchup. For example, if you're playing a strong roaming champion like a Mumu versus a champion that specializes in laning or scaling like Soraka, and you don't think you can kill her, or if you're playing a matchup where you think staying in lane is going to be losing, it could be a good idea to just find more windows to roam. Another condition for roaming is if it is good for one of your allies matchup. For example, if they are playing volatile solo lane matchups like double bruisers that snowball hard one way or another, usually it's good to pay a visit to get the ball rolling. Another thing to think about before you roam is your roam going to be matched? If both supports can roam, think about whether you win the 2v2 or 3v3 skirmish, etc. If you don't, it might be better to just stay in lane and crew some XP. The last condition for roaming is if your lane is completely like maybe you picked a really bad matchup or the matchup became unplayable for some unknown reason. It could be a good idea to just abandon ship entirely and try to help the strong members of your team. If nobody is strong, then just try to create a numbers advantage somewhere. And asterisk to this point is know when it's actually unplayable or if you can survive and you guys are just being whiny. Some people just leave too early. They're just a little bit frustrated. Alright, next I'm going to talk about slightly more advanced topics. So roaming is one big mind game. It is. You want to threaten being at multiple positions at once by staying in fog of war and not give away your play too early until the best moment. This is why a lot of supports recently have been switching to sweeper earlier. Knowing when you've been spotted is the difference between a successful play and being punished. When you're roaming, think about what information you are giving the enemy. You want to keep mental check of where all the enemy wards are or could be. With these new concepts in mind, you can actually roam at a time when the ADC has to catch a wave. Just don't reveal your location until the wave has been caught before proceeding with your play. This will give the enemy team the least amount of time to react with a punish. Decent supports will usually roam if the basic conditions from earlier in the video favors them. So the next level to this is anticipating when the enemy's support will roam and matching it, even if your wave stays bad. Because if both supports are roaming and bot lane is left to be 1v1 between the ADs, usually both of them can farm pretty safely. Be sure to use function keys or the minimap constantly to keep tabs on your teammates and their matchups. Being aware of which matchups are reaching their turning point or the point where a little bit of help can swing the matchup heavily in favor of one side can help you plan out in advance a movement to go help them. Again, one more time, I want to emphasize how situational roaming can be. The more champion to champion interactions you can understand, the better your roams will be. Knowing when a champion will want to trade or what ADCs can survive a dive against what champs, or even what angle your champion wants to approach roams from. For example, Rakan can roam through lane and actually likes that. All this is really important for knowing or having more successful roams. Hope you guys enjoyed this quick chat about roaming, and be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. And if you have any questions, let me know down below. Thanks so much for listening.